afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining for another session of Azure Power Lunch. As we know that we record these calls and we place our recordings on our YouTube channel. If you are not comfortable with it, you may want to drop off now. So the topic of discussion today is Dev Proxy. It's an API simulator, and I just came across it, found it very interesting, so I thought I would share it. And before we go any further, I want to mention that Ignite, the Microsoft Premier conference where we make the big announcements and set the trajectory, what's coming up next, is going to be next week. Um, you can join it online. This is um, fully free. There is no cost to it. Just register it, and then you can watch all these sessions online. Okay, so that's that. So, okay, so let's quickly move on to our agenda. We're going to talk about what is Dev Proxy, what it does, and some of the use cases. And most of the time we're going to spend is on the demo. So, what is Dev Proxy? Dev Proxy is an API simulator. It's an open source product, so there is no price, or it's open source, free to use, and it's a command line tool. Very simple, very lightweight, and it basically the way it works is just like any other proxy intercept request. And since it's doing interception, it can be used for very interesting use cases. For example, you can simulate errors, you can simulate API, and that's what the main use case we're going to take look at. And then you can introduce certain flaw. You can mock up APIs, all of those things. And so you don't have to write let's say that there is an app team that is writing an application that is going to be based on APIs, and the other team is building the APIs. The API team can use this on their desktops. I mean, it runs on Linux, Windows, Mac, and they can start taking advantage of it and start mocking up APIs and start building their app. On the other hand, as app team starts developing, what they can do is instead of hitting the mock API, it can start hitting the APIs directly, which are running in, which are being developed by the app. So that's kind of the main use case of it. And of course, there are multiple things you can do, and I have the link to documentation. And I don't think 30 minutes are enough to cover all that information. You can do like rate limiting and throttling and errors and all that. So, and we will take a look at it. So let's quickly jump into the demo first. Okay. So first of all, I want to show you here. This is getting started. So this is how you install it. If you don't have winget, you can install winget, and you may have to restart your machine after that once you if you don't have winget on your machine. Okay, and then you will install the proxy. Just keep in mind that once you install it, then you can run it by just doing dev proxy. Once you run dev proxy, you can run it. It may cause issue with your internet connectivity of your machine. Okay, so just be aware of it because it's a proxy. And always it's very important that you shut it down by doing a control C. You don't leave it running, or you don't, if you're running in a command line tool like command prompt, you don't just close the command prompt, because what's going to happen is if you close the command prompt, it will still be running behind the scene, and you will have to go into the proxy settings and then turn off from there. Okay, and that may cause some interesting side effect that you know um, or issues. So as I said, very simple to install. Starting is Dev Proxy, and it will pop up a message box saying you trust the certificates, and then you go from there. And that's all. I mean, and then you can record it and do all sorts of things with it. Okay. So so what we're gonna do is I have, I'm just to be on the safe side, I'm running it on an Azure machine since I'm doing this Teams demo. I don't want internet connectivity to have any issues. So just to avoid all that, I'm running it on um, a machine that is running in the cloud. This is an Azure machine, and let me just do this. Okay. So first of all, I hope everybody can see it. I'm running a command prompt over here. Let me just do a control C here. And the way you run it, so I have already installed Dev Proxy over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, hold on 1 second. Sorry, guys. For some reason, the icon isn't showing up. So that's why I have to change the size. But let's take a look. So let's run Dev Proxy. So once we run Dev Proxy, um, and it is based on the configuration file, and it will be installed in the folder. This is the folder. Let me show it to you here as well. So this is the folder, okay, and where it is installed. And if you can go up, C, Windows, App Data, Local Program, Dev Proxy, and you will have the config file. This is the name of the config file, Dev Proxy RC. Okay, and let's take a look at that config file. What we can do is go in here and okay, so this is the config file. As you can see, it has plugins, and at this moment, there are no custom plugins. These are the plugins, and there's very decent documentation about these plugins that is available. Okay, so you can have this one, like for example, here, what you can do is you can, retry. It will generate a random error, and what it does is this is the plugin section. So basically, it's saying the config section for this plugin is here, and then you have dev proxy errors. So you can add your errors. So let's take a look at, dev proxy errors.json. So these are all the errors defined. What it's going to do is it's going to pick one of the random errors from here and give it back to you. So this is just to simulate, like you're running stuff and then you are simulating, okay, error, how come and see the errors. So let's go in here and I'm going to um, run the command prompt. Yeah. So let's go into the PowerShell. I'm in the PowerShell here and I am going to run this. Okay, and I want to show you something here. Um, okay, just watch this dev proxy window as I'm running this here. As you can see, it's generated a random error. On the other hand, so it's showing you what it is doing. I mean, as the requests are passing through it. So right now it is acting as a proxy. So you may want to ask, like, how come it is intercepting the request? Any request that you need to intercept, you need to define it in the dev proxy rc.json. This is the URLs to watch. Okay, so right now you are here, you're saying this is my API, and let's say that this is somebody's developing this API, and you just got some mock responses against which you are building this. So what you can say is I want everything that goes to it intercepted. Anything that is not listed here will not be intercepted. Got it? So that's how it works. So let's say that you wanna now what you wanna do is you wanna um, you don't want to intercept some of the requests. So let's see how that works. So what I'm going to do is let's say that there is a, particular post. So I'm going to say post slash two, and I'm going to put here, and then I'm going to put an exclamation mark. What that does is it's going to make sure that any request that is going to this URL, will not be intercepted. Anything that is going to this one, so everything will be intercepted except this one. Got it? So let's take a look. Let's see. Just keep in mind that once you do that, you will have to restart the proxy. So I'm going to do a control C here, restart it, proxy restarted, and let me send the request. As you can see, the requests are going as before, but uh, if I send the request to two, one second, I think I mistyped it or something. Sorry, guys. So, yeah. So basically, what we are doing here is we are just gonna go back here. It's still intercepting that request. I'm not sure why. Maybe I did. Oh, sorry, guys. Look at this. I did not save it. So that's a demo error. Let me go back here again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here, cancel it out, run the dev proxy again. My apologies. And then I'm going to go in here and run this request. First of all, let me run the old request. It is intercepted, as you can see here. And then I am going to run the other request. So let me come back here, and one more time, this request still intercepted. And now you see it is passed through. So basically, that request, it is still not intercepting. Oh, one thing to keep in mind, remember, this request that you don't want to intercept, always put on top. Okay, because what it is doing is it is going to the first one, the first URL, and it basically ignoring the second one. Okay, so just always do that. So let's go back here. Apologies. Um, and let me restart it and restart the dev proxy. And let me go in here and let me run this request one more time. So I need to run the Visual Studio. Let me close this thing. This is not needed. So let me run this thing here. As you can see, this request should not go through that. The other one is still going, but this. So if you have a request that is kind of where you don't wanna pass through, you definitely want it to be first. Okay. Any questions, folks? Okay. So now let's go into a little bit more complex use cases. Let's say that your team is, or your organization's team is developing an API, and what they want to do is they want to build this API, and there's a team that is developing some application based on the API. So how you reconcile that, how this thing helps. So this is the configuration that you have, and look at the plugin. So first of all, let's look at the structure now in detail. You have the schema, you have the plugin, and by the way, this is all through documentation. So everything is kind of a very well explained there. But in any case, these are the plugin. Name of your plugin is CRUD API plugin. It's enabled. This is the path of the plugin, and this is default path. You don't, and this is this config section. Okay, just keep in mind any API URLs that you have to describe it over here. Like my API or simulated API is api.contoso.com. So these are the two URL paths, and I want both because remember, posts are always going to be going to this URL. But for get and delete, I will have to use slash ID of the particular item. Okay. And then there are two things here. Okay. One is um, customer API.json. So let's see what is in customers API.json. Okay. So this is customers API.json. There you define your API. Okay. You say what is the action, get all, what is action, get one. This is kind of a syntax you're following. You're saying this is the URL, and that's how you're gonna pick. So basically all JSON query. Okay. Merge, delete. This is what you are defining. So basically the first one is a get, second one is get one, third one is a post, fourth one is probably patch, the last one is delete. Okay. Once you have defined that, then what you need to do is go to customers data.json, and you can name it anything else. Okay. This is just what is in the sample. So you go in there and then you define your API, and that's where I have two items. You can add, let's say, a third one here. Let's be very creative, and I'm gonna call it adventure works, and I'm gonna name it 3. Okay, so that's that. So once you have done that, now you have for uh, you know, okay. So that's kind of you that's how you build it. So this is kind of a structure of the file. So what we're gonna do is since we're short on time, I did not want to have it like build it from scratch. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna copy this file, and just keep in mind, I pre-cooked these files. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to paste it on the uh, Dev Proxy. So I'm replacing the Dev Proxy with this file. Got it? That's all I'm doing. So now my base the dev proxy config file is now this thing. Okay. So, and what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to stop the proxy and I'm going to restart it. And it's going to tell you that CRUD API with 5 action is loaded. Okay. So now let's call these APIs and let's see what happens. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to call simply the get API. So let's go back here. This is the URL. So I'm going to do this. Okay. So I'm going to call this. As you can see, this was intercepted. You can see mock, and it gives you uh, the the items. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a particular item. So I'm gonna call item number 3. Okay, yes, I got the item number 3, Adventure Works that we just added. Okay, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete the item number 3. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a method and I'm going to call it delete. So I'm calling the same method and I'm calling this delete. Okay. Now it is deleted. Let's get the third item again. Gone. So you see, I mean, this is very interesting. It's loading this data and it's playing with that data. So you can have kind of a a large number of these mock files for different of your APIs and start playing with it. And basically, kind of without having the actual implementation, you can start building those, any application that relies on those APIs. So allows you to do that without, spending, or kind of a building these mock APIs. You can just build them through the configuration using this Dev Proxy. Okay, so that's that. Any questions, folks? Okay, so let's quickly move on. I want to show you one more thing, and just keep in mind. So there is a simple mocking that is. Oh, there is. I want to show you this thing. This is important. So if let's say you want to intercept certain requests which are using a certain header. So for example, as you are building APIs, you have actual APIs that you are testing, but certain APIs you want to mock. So basically, what you can do is you can add this thing filter by headers, and then it's gonna only intercept the APIs which has this header. Any other APIs that are there, it's not gonna intercept. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna take this out from here, and we are going to put this thing in here. Okay, so I am going to add this here. Here we go. So we added a new property called filter by headers. Okay, and let's restart our um, proxy. So I'm going to cancel it out, and I'm going to restart it. Okay, and now let's do this, call the same method that we called before. Um, okay, as you can see here, it is not being intercepted, and it's going to the URL is there, so it's not being intercepted. Simple, because the headers are not there. It's only gonna intercept if a certain header is there. So how you address it? So um, let's add the header. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just same thing. I'm going to add the headers. Okay. So I just added the headers. Let's see what happens. Good. Look, it again intercepted the request. And you can do partial header matching, you can do full header matching, you can ignore certain headers. So all of that is available with this step proxy. Okay. One last thing that I want to show you is integration with APIC. Okay. So what is APIC? Is an Azure API Center. I think we talked about in the previous session. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to uh, intercept certain APIs which are not in the API Center. So let's say that your um, organization is doing API governance. They want you people to use only the APIs which are um, which are allowed by the organization, and they're all in API Center. What you can do, well, and the way you wanna check for shadow APIs. Let's say the app is using some API which are not allowed, and those APIs because they do not meet that criteria. What you can do is you can run this proxy, integrate it with API Center, and at that moment, if that API is not there, it will be captured by the Dev Proxy, and this is the configuration. So that's a use case That's a use case of API Center. So basically, what you add is you add the API Center onboarding plugin, and with that, you populate with your app's API Center information. Once all that information is populated, once you run the API, and it will check if that API is not there in the API Center, and then what you can do is you can um, either create the API entry for that, or you can basically, if the API is already there, you can ignore it. So both the things are possible. So that's how you can basically use a Dev Proxy to integrate with, work with, not integrate, I should say, work with API Center to do API governance. Okay, so let's try to do a quick demo here. And what I'm going to do is, this is how I have set it up. So what I'm going to do, the same thing, instead of building the entire section by myself, I'm just going to use that, and I'm going to copy it on the base configuration, paste it, save it. I have the API Center running. And what I'm going to do is now I'm going to stop the Dev Proxy, and I'm going to restart it. Oh, sorry, I think I got to log in here. Okay, let's not worry about it. So basically, you have to log in before you can run it. So I didn't log in, and I think we have 2 minutes, so we don't have enough time, but just want to mention it. So let's do a quick recap. So Azure, sorry, I should say Azure is a dev proxy. It's a tool that is available as a open source free to download utility. You install it. You can install it using winget. Once you install it, you can run it on your local machine, on your Windows, Linux, or Mac, and it allows you to simulate APIs. You can do mocking, you can do simulate API errors, you can do throttling, you can do latency. So all of the things that sometimes are hard to test, you can take advantage of Dev Proxy to test all those things out. Any questions, folks? That's all I had to cover. Thank you very much for joining, and hope to see everybody next week for another Azure Power Lunch session. So everybody had a wonderful day and great